How's it going, everybody? My name is Philip Wallers. Today I'm going to give my second presentation for our second research paper. I titled my research paper Free Speech Today, and in it I discuss how technology, and more primarily the internet, has both aided and hindered our freedom of speech today. Throughout history, we've always had this worry that our freedom of speech was either going to be hindered or stripped away completely. As technology continues to advance at this exponential rate that it has, this worry is starting to get worse and worse. Part of this is due to the lack of privacy that has come with the online world of today. We used to be able to just have discussions in private with a group of friends or family and just sit there and debate our ideas, have general discourse. Unfortunately, with technology came the internet, and with the internet eventually came social media platforms. The problem with these social media platforms is nothing in our past is actually private. It doesn't stay in the past. For example, famous actor and comedian Kevin Hart in 2011 made some tweets that were homophobic in nature. In 2018, he was supposed to host the Oscars, but a group of people found these tweets from 2011 and used them against him to try and force him to apologize. He refused to do so. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to continue to go back and tap into the days of old when I've moved on and I'm in a completely different space in my life." He understood that what he had done was bad, but he had become a different person, so why should he have to apologize for things he did when he was younger and more naive? But this shows that there's a lack of privacy. Our past doesn't stay hidden. And these groups of people are constantly doing this. They're finding these old tweets and trying to force people to apologize for them, even though they may not be that same person anymore. And because of this, people are more scared to post online. And it's actually detracting from our freedom of speech. So let's talk about a few more ways that our freedom of speech is actually being hindered. As technology continues to advance, there's always going to be a possibility of freedom of speech being hindered. For example, Facebook released a list of media outlets that controlled what information actually made it to the trending topics. The problem was this list showed a bias against mainly Africa and the Middle East. Facebook can now control what does or does not make it onto their media platform. So anything that they don't agree with, or they don't like, or they don't want to see, they can keep from showing up. This hinders people's ability to have proper freedom of speech. Granted, it is their right and prerogative to hinder or censor these kinds of things, but it is hindering people's ability to say what they want or what they feel. Similarly, Twitter has revised their own terms of service in order to more aggressively police the content on its platform. Now, this isn't to say that social media is all bad. Social media has helped people to communicate more effectively. It's allowed us to have better discourse and debates of ideas from people to other people across the world. The problem is people can hide what they don't want to hear or what they don't want to see, and it brings us to this decision of, do we want to live in virtual echo chambers where we just hear and see what we want and what we believe? Or do we want to live in a world where we can have discourse with people who challenge and expand our ideas? I know personally, I would want people to challenge me. I want people to help me expand my own thought process. The entire point of free speech is to be heard. And with people limiting what they can and can't see, or what they do and do not want to see, it hinders other people's ability of free speech. Granted, I understand that there are topics such as racism and sexism, other forms of hate speech that need to go away. They probably never will, and it's unfortunate. But they are out there, and the people saying these things, because of the First Amendment rights, do have the right to say what they want. So, again, while Facebook has the right to censor these things and keep them from being said, it is technically a hindrance of free speech. But there are ways in which freedom of speech is being spread. Social media and the internet has helped freedom of speech spread more than it has hurt it. That's only up to this point. There's no telling what will happen in the future. Without the help of the internet or cell phones and other forms of technology, people wouldn't be as able to connect and communicate as they are today. These technologies have allowed people to have the discourses and the debates across the world for quite a few years, and it's going to progress even further and help people do this even more in the future. These social media platforms also help get information out to people so that they can be more informed. Facebook has many media outlets and news stations that post articles and stories and videos all over their social media accounts, and it helps people find these, get the information, and be able to spread that information amongst their friends and people that they want to also have this information. Now, some viewpoints on social media are less than acceptable by social media standards. And while it's their right to censor on the social media platforms, the internet itself can't. In 1996, there was a court case. It was Renault versus ACLU. And the court declared that the internet was a free speech zone. This ruling was unanimous. And the court realized that to censor images and words on the internet was the equivalent of snatching books out of people's hands in a library. They couldn't do this. The First Amendment says, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. And nowhere in this law does it distinguish any kind of medium from another. So written word, paper, speech, internet, it all is covered under that. So it's all covered under free speech. The understanding of the constitutional amendment is that electronic speech has the same protections as those of spoken and written word. As technology continues to advance, the dilemma of free speech being hindered will most likely continue to worsen. While hate speech is terrible, and it's a terrible occurrence in society that's probably never going to go away, the rights of the people saying these things are protected under the First Amendment. Again, social media outlets have their own rights to be able to censor and keep these things off so that people can't see them. And for the most part, they do a fairly good job. But as bad as those things are, it's hindering their free speech by censoring them. I don't agree with the hate speech, but I do agree with their right to say what they feel and want. Technology has done a lot to help the people of society with their ability to communicate with others, as well as be able to debate about their possibly opposing ideas. Technology is going to continue to advance over the years, and people will continue to use it in order to express themselves how they see fit through the use of the First Amendment. And it is my hope that at no point will free speech of the people ever be hindered so badly that it feels like we were no longer able to have a voice of our own. Again, a lot of this comes from people using our past against us is making people not want to post anything. I personally don't post much on either Facebook or Twitter because I understand that it's not going to stay hidden. There are people that are going to see those things. Chances are it'll offend somebody and they can use it against me. And the more that this happens in society, the more likely it is that freedom of speech is pretty much going to be eradicated. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.